Thanks for joining, everyone. We're just going to wait one more moment here. All right. Just want to confirm, Megan, are you here? Yes, you are. Great. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today's session is being recorded and will be shared on our ECCF's website. I apologize for those of you who were looking for the link. Somehow it was inadvertently taken off of the landing page for this program, but I imagine it has been put back up at this point. Thank you all for joining. My name is Carol Lavoie-Schuster, and I'm the Vice President for Grants, Nonprofit, and Donor Services at ECCF, Essex County Community Foundation. Today's info session is about this new food security grant program, which is a CARES Act Community Development Block Grant. In today's session, I'll give a high-level overview of the opportunity, talk a little bit about guidelines, requirements, reporting, and timelines, and then we'll have time for Q&A. My overview will really only take 10 to 15 minutes at most. I don't suspect we'll need the entire hour, but we've allowed for enough time and space. The link here at the bottom is the full guidelines. Again, this deck and this recording will be posted to our website, and the guidelines are up on our grants landing page. So quick overview, ECCF, we've partnered with the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, also known as DHCD, to administer $3.1 million in CARES Act Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Food Security Program. Now, this is a statewide initiative, and they have partnered with 13, including us, community foundations and community organizations, to do this distribution. We and our other 12 partners are stewards of the dollars, and all of the rules and regulations, reporting and guidelines are us following their rules and regulations. But it's a fantastic opportunity to leverage these resources for food into Essex County. So we're really delighted to partner with them. The goal of the work is to significantly impact vulnerable and underserved populations across Essex County living below 80% AMI, area median income, with households and as well as households with no or very limited access to sources of economic relief. The way that we will do this program is in partnership with you. You are the boots on the ground, working with clients focused on food security. And so the resources have come to ECCF to steward, and then we will partner with nonprofits so that we can get the resources to the most vulnerable. The application will open by the end of this week on our landing page. Initial grants will be made in early March. You'll see also on the timeline that the deadline for the applications is on February 21st. Who can apply? So from a very basic sense, applicants must be qualified 501c3 organizations, nonprofits. You must demonstrate your work being grounded here in Essex County. And there certainly might be organizations based outside of Essex County that work here. They're certainly allowed to apply, but we'll be prioritizing organizations working here. There are 3 general categories of use for allowable expenses for this grant. One is food, naturally. The second is sort of this all-encompassing category of things required to help you run your food provision program. So this could include labor, supplies, materials, but it also really refreshingly, could include rent, utilities, salaries, administrative costs. And then the last category is what I call small capital. These are expenses that would include things like trucks or freezers or other mechanisms that you would need to deliver or store food or products as part of your provision of service. Applicants can apply for grants between $25,000 to $100,000, and this is a 12-month program. Now, one of the allowable expenses built into a budget, if folks could put themselves on mute, I would really greatly appreciate that. Thank you. One of the allowable expenses for each grant would be up to 10% for administrative costs. Now, there are a number of requirements per the CDBG grants guidelines. One is, and this would be something we would work with folks. If folks could please put themselves on mute, I'd greatly appreciate it. Or Megan, if you could mute everyone upon entrance, that would be great. The first is that organizations have to confirm your ability to complete a monthly data set, and I'll be showing a sample of what will be required to collect monthly. The second is that organizations have to demonstrate that at least 50% of the persons that you're serving qualify as low and moderate income. And there's many ways that the CDBG is allowing us to help you to qualify those, including low and moderate income areas, particular populations, or those that are categorically eligible, including fuel assistance, school lunches, rental voucher programs. We also have to demonstrate a quantifiable increase in the level of service, which I think everyone on this call has seen in your work. And to clarify that, it has to be pre-COVID numbers and then COVID numbers. So February of 2020 and then beyond that. Now, some organizations may choose to show us month over month their increases. Others may not have seen the spike until the summer of 2020, and others may have seen it instantly. The CDBG has been general in how we have to capture this. It doesn't have to be every single month. It just has to, at a minimum, show pre-COVID and COVID rates of increase. And the last thing is that we will be working with all grantees to confirm that the funds are not being duplicated to recipients, and CDBG has a form and a process for that. Some of the required forms and reporting that I just mentioned, one is that will be required as part of the, if you are selected as a grantee, is the professional services contract, which is a form that we've developed in partnership with CDBG. The second, I just mentioned the duplication of benefits certification. We are working out the process, as I just mentioned, with CDBG on exactly how to do that. The third is this monthly report. I'll show you a snapshot of this in a moment. And then should you be a grantee, there'll be a monthly allocation submission process that will start once the grant program begins, and then these self-attestation forms. Now, most of you in the food work have forms that you complete for all of your clientele. Others may not have that. We certainly understand that folks have varying needs depending upon the unique needs of your clients. And so we'll be working with each agency that applies to understand what you already have in place or what you may need to put in place. And we also have a sample from CDBG of a template form if you don't have something in place. But each recipient of food will need to complete a self-attestation form that would be kept on site at your organization. Here is the monthly reporting, which you can see includes racial and ethnic backgrounds, as well as some age and gender information. This again would be captured monthly, and as part of the conversation of your interest in applying, we'd need to confirm that you'd be able to complete this on a monthly basis. The deadlines and timelines for this work, you're on the second Zoom session. These recordings will be posted live on our website. The applications are due in February on the 21st. Then we'll be announcing decisions the end of that week, the 25th, awards and denials. And then the award process begins for grantees that have been, that are part of the program. Again, this is a 1-year program. Here's a link again for our guidelines. And then lastly, if you have any questions, we're happy to set up Zoom calls or phone calls with any of you that have further questions. You can set that up with myself and my colleague, Patty McCullough. We just ask that in the subject line of the email that you include Essex County CDBG food grants if you have any questions. And I'm going to go ahead. And yes, Joe, I'm going to be sharing this deck on the website alongside the recording as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And if you can use the hand indicator, Megan and I can see who is asking questions. Good, thanks. Thanks, Joe. Put your thumbs up there.
Joe has a question in the comment box. Are you going to share this slideshow with us later?
Yes, and I just answered that question. Yes, we'll be sharing the deck on the website with this recording as well. Okay. I've got someone raising, we have Dean raising your hand.
Hi, thanks, Carol. The $3.1 million, was that spread across the 13 community organizations, or was that strictly for ECCF?
That's strictly for ECCF.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
They had an equation based on population rates, foreign-born rates, that they determined the distributions across the Commonwealth.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry, I don't see a hand button on my.
Okay, no problem. I've got a couple questions here. First, I think it's an
Should I
Eileen.
put it in the chat?
Yes, Darcy, that would be
Okay.
great. I've got a couple of
Thank you.
questions here. I just want to make sure that I'm being fair. So the first question is, if we're implementing a new program, how would you suggest we demonstrate pre-COVID programs? So Eileen, the question I would ask to you, is it entirely new? Are you a completely new program, or have you been doing food work pre-COVID?
We've been doing food work, but we're creating a food hub. So it's a new.
Sure. So yeah, you can write that in the narrative in the application. But in the narrative, I would outline the number of people that you served pre-COVID and then what prompted you, which I assume was a spike in numbers, to create a food hub. So that could be included in the narrative.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Lisa Vincent. Could you speak more about the service numbers increasing after a spike? Our numbers have leveled off. So you did have a spike though, Lisa, correct?
Yes, we did.
Okay, great. So that's what they need to demonstrate, is that you did see a spike due to COVID. And so that's the demonstrable piece that needs to be communicated. Even if they have leveled off, there just has to have been a spike.
Thank you.
Okay. So first I'm going to have Darcy unmute and ask your question, and then Joe will go to you. I just want to acknowledge that she had asked a question first. So Darcy Randall.
Okay, I typed in the chat, but the overlap of benefits, are you talking about an overlap of CDBG funds and CDBG food grant funds overlap? Or are you
Yes.
talking about all our funding?
CDBG. And
Okay.
we are working out with the CDBG now exactly how they want us to capture that
Okay.
now. So we'll be working with grantees on how to
Okay,
do
so you
so.
don't want CDBG block grants overlapping with the food grants.
Correct, because it's all coming from the same
Okay,
source.
perfect. Thank you.
And to be very transparent, we are working out that process of exactly how they want us to capture that information. Okay. All right. Joe, we have a question. Would you mind sharing the link to the website where we will find the slideshow? Joe, that is the main grants landing page, and I'll put that in the chat right now. It's very prominent right on our website. It's actually the top grant that's listed. If you go to the ECCF website, click on grants, and there's a whole list of grants available to apply for. It's the very top one. Okay. Okay, we've got Darcy just asked. So Dean, we're creating a new program and did not do food work prior to COVID, but the new program will be serving organizations that did do work pre-COVID. Would we use the pre-COVID numbers? Yes, and I would need to learn more about the program, Dean. So if you want to set up a one-on-one call, that would be great.
It looks like Neil has a question. He has his hand raised.
Great. All right, so Katie, I'll get to you right after this. Neil, if you want to go ahead and share your question, if you put yourself up, take yourself off of mute.
Yeah, it was similar to Dean, so I'm not sure if it is the same question, honestly, but we acquired funding to after the beginning of the pandemic to fill a need where there was a program that essentially ran out of funding and was doing a food service. So I was just wondering about how we would demonstrate that if we can't exactly acquire the numbers.
Yeah, so I would recommend, I mean, I'd have to learn more about it, but I would recommend using the other organization that you're acquiring or merging with, get their numbers, and then in the narrative, be able to demonstrate what the spike, what they must have their numbers. So it was a food program you're acquiring?
Yeah, so it was an organization. They started this food program. They ran out of money to continue it. And then our organization essentially, acquired funds and did the same thing, but we didn't, specifically merge with the organization.
Yeah, so they must not they must have numbers.
Okay.
I would hope that they would.
Same.
Okay, great. Katie Sadowski, you mentioned there is some flexibility with the self-attestation form information collected. Is there any flexibility with how the monthly data is reported, or must the CDBG monthly report template be used? Yes. Unfortunately, no, there is no flexibility with how the monthly data is reported. All we need is the number, though, based on that template. So the number of people that fit that category. So we can talk offline, Katie, though, if you have specifics. I assume that this is about students. But you would collect it. We have a template that is matching exactly what CDBG has asked us to collect. You would complete that and enter it every month. So I just need to learn more in terms of when you say flexibility. Is it because you have students that don't meet those criteria, or?
No, that's a great question. We do. It's just that is not a data point that we have previously collected. We have all sorts of data showing students that would potentially qualify. This would be for our campus food pantry. It's just that particular data point would be information that we just don't currently have on our students available. So we're just trying to figure out the mechanisms of the student attestation piece, but also how we make sure that we would be reporting back if that's even feasible for us to do, given our current mechanism for our students accessing the pantry.
Right. No, I understand. Unfortunately, no, we do. Every grantee must complete that report every month.
Great. That helps. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I don't see any more in the chat. Are there other folks that want to sort of put your hand up? Ask any questions?
Oh, Neil has another question.
Yes, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, and then Eileen, you put one in the chat. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I apologize if you already answered this. The attestation form, was that in the slides?
No, we will be posting that on the forms section of the grants landing page. Most food organizations have some form of this already.
Right.
But CDBG has offered us a template that you could use to create one if you don't already have that in place. It is important to note that those won't need to be submitted to ECCF with the grant. However, it will be required for you to keep a record on site for each one in your organization should CDBG do an audit.
Great.
And Eileen, yes, there will need to be a self-attestation form for each recipient, yes. And again, we do understand the complexity of that with refugee, immigrant, and other families. And what we understand is that CDBG is flexible in terms of anonymity, and that individual organizations that might work with refugees or families could keep the record of the name at the facility that you work with them. However, we need to be able to make sure that there is a signature, and we're going to work with CDBG on the specific details of unique populations with different needs. Clarification from Tiffany. Each program must be able to demonstrate that funds are not being duplicated to recipients. Just to clarify, this is duplication of CDBG funding and not duplication of recipient utilizing regional food pantries. This is what I understand, yes. However, we are going to get clarification from CDBG. That is what I understand it to be, yes. However, again, I need to get clarification from them. Neil, do you have another question? You have your hand raised.
I'm sorry about that.
No worries. Okay. Okay. Are there other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, we can go ahead and wrap things up. Again, this recording will be posted on the landing page for this grant, as well as the deck. Just note it is duplicative. The deck is duplicative of the guidelines, but we find that folks learn in different ways, so we want to post it in different ways. If you have any questions or want to set up a short call to discuss your application, you can do so. Please just share to my contact information as well as Patty in an email labeled with CDBG Food Grant as the header. All right, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you. Good to see you, Linda.
Good to be here.
Congratulations on the new fund, by the way.
Which one?
The big endowment fund.